Hi, I'm Aidan. Welcome to my podcast. It's a podcast about days of my life. Today I'm going to take you back in time to August the 30th, 1997. I was 16 years, 2 months and 15 days old. Tony Blair had just become the Prime Minister of England and the Labour Party were as popular as they've ever been.
When Tony Blair emerged from his North London home into the morning sunshine to head for the palace, he was almost swamped by well-wishers.
There are 7 people in this room tonight who are giving a little bit of hope to young people in this country. That is me, our kid, Bonehead, Quigsy, Alan White, Alan McGee and Tony Blair. And if you all got anything about you, you get up there and you shake Tony Blair's hand, man. He's a man. Power to the people!
It seemed to be an amazing time to be alive. Can you imagine having a Prime Minister that almost everyone seemed to like? Can you imagine all the music on the radio sounding like the best music you'd ever heard? And like Britpop and like Tony Blair, I was infused with some kind of triumphant passion. Maybe most people get to a point in their life in their 30s when they look back at the decade that was their teens and they say that was the best time. But for me, I really mean it. The 90s was the best time. Fashion, music, politics, everything seemed to be going in the right direction. We were on the cusp of a new millennia. I can't remember exactly how I started Saturday the 30th of August 1997, but I guess I started it the same way I started most mornings. Having a smoke, going out to work, and having a big fuck you, don't talk to me look on my face. I presented an image to the outside world of someone that just couldn't really give a fuck. That's the image that I wanted to have on the inside, really. So that's the image that I presented outwardly. On the inside, I was an absolute mess. I had emotional trauma, I had worrying thoughts. I felt like the future was rushing towards me at an impossibly fast speed, and I had to try and invent some kind of version of myself that would make sense. A version of myself that would be sexy, who would be charismatic, someone who could make a lot of money, someone who could be successful. I needed to be someone that other people would like. All of that was just totally crushing me, and I felt it was unrealistic. So, I used to retreat back into myself a lot. I'd smoke weed, I'd do drugs. I'd go out on the weekend and I'd dance and dance and dance. I'd talk to strangers that I'd never met before. I'd build solid 30-second friendships with people. That was my life. On the weekends, from Friday, it was go out, get high, stay high, and then try and ease myself back down. In terms of what I felt on the inside of me at that time, things were bubbling up to a surface for me. My mother had told me less than a year ago that she had a terminal diagnosis of cancer, of breast cancer to be specific. I hadn't dealt with that information at all. It was like she'd put this massive emotional bomb in me, a fuse that could go off at some point, but I never really knew when. It's hard when you live with someone that has a diagnosis of cancer, because to begin with, sometimes they appear to be perfectly normal. But I could see that she was starting to go downhill. She was physically deteriorating. She was finding it hard to work. She seemed tired all the time. And I didn't know what to do. I guess in myself I'd already started to predict that she may die. And that to me was just like a car crash that I couldn't even watch. So it was just another thing inside me that I pushed down and carried on getting high about. But for the most part, my friendships at that point in my life, they were all built on a kind of social networking ladder. Of being friends with this person because they know that person. Being friends with this guy because he can drive me to this place. And also as well, I was that kind of guy for a lot of people. So part of this story can't exist without me giving you some context as to what my life was like at that time. I needed to spend roughly £300 a week on drugs. I earned roughly £90 a week. There was a deficit there of over £200. I suppose like a lot of teenagers, me and my friends used to source our drugs from wherever we could get them from. We didn't have one solid drug dealer to go to. There wasn't one address that we could drive to. It wasn't someone with kids who grow his weed in the backyard. It wasn't someone who used to be a hippie and was kind of safe. It was always a different car, a different address, a different flat. You have to chase and meet people that you don't necessarily want to. We heard about this one guy when all of the places we tried have failed. His name was Grunt. The sort of urban myth about this guy was that he would open his door with no clothes on. Also as well that he had guns in his kitchen. And I suppose the most terrifying one for me, as the guy that was going to try and score our drugs from him, was that he would offer sexual favours in return for payment. So I think it's fair to say walking into this one, I was feeling a little bit nervous. The door opens up and there's at least 20 guys all stood around a square kitchen. All of them have bags of weed and bags of powder, and they look at me and they clock me straight away. Who the fuck is this little white dude? I try and stay cool, and I wait for one of them to say something first. This guy comes across to me, who I later know as Dan. Dan is at least twice the size of me and twice the width of me. He's got a baseball cap on, and he's got big white eyes.
Who the fuck are you?
I say, why do you want to know? Dan looks at this and takes his head back and stares back at me.
Alright, what do you want then?
So, that's how I deal with drug dealers that are a lot bigger than me. They ask you a direct question, you ask them a direct question back. It baffles them. And then I guess they see that you've got some fighting spirit in you. I became almost like a runner for Dan. And Dan kind of figured that out as well. I started to get more cheeky towards him, and the more cheeky I got towards him, the more he liked me. I told him what I was doing, because by the end of it, I was making up nearly the whole £200 deficit in my drug habit, just by going in, getting lots of people's deals, skimming my bit off the top, and then giving them back slightly substandard deals, but saying, hey, what the fuck are you going to do about it? Are you going to go in there with the guns and the naked people? I was your mission go-to guy. One day though, something different happens. I go in, I've got maybe £300-400 on me, and I've got people that want to buy ecstasy tablets, people that want to buy some LSD, people that want some speed, people that want some weed. So I'm doing all the deals and trying to figure out how much I can make off it and trying to put extra bits of weed in my bag. And then Dan says to me,
There's no speed this week.
okay, so what have you got instead of speed? Got some base. I'd never heard of what base amphetamine was before. Dan showed it me. It's kind of like toothpaste that's gone hard. That's the best way of describing it. I said okay. I never really did speed that much myself. I used to prefer to take a couple of ecstasy pills, maybe some acid, and then smoke my way back down. So it wasn't a big deal for me. I didn't inquire about it. Again, I'm 16 years old. I wasn't an expert on drugs. On Saturday the 30th of August, I'd finished work, smoked my bong, I put my clothes on. Everything was in place. There was a free party going on. It was an illegal party, so it was kept low and under wraps. You had to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. Two somebodies that I knew gave me a lift there. We'll call them Bill and Ben. I know, Bill and Ben the flower pot men. But I guess maybe one of them was called Bill, and maybe one of them was called Ben. Or maybe not. It's a brilliant, brilliant feeling to be 16 years old and to be sitting in the back of a car travelling at 100 miles an hour towards your destination, your pinnacle of the week. In the past, if I'd ever taken speed before, I would take around half a gram of it. I'd take this by rolling it up in cigarette rolling paper, popping it in my mouth and sipping with some water. It was called bombing it. So it would go down into your tummy, paper would explode and it would go into your system and you'd get a real hit. It was the most unhealthy way of taking speed probably. But speed's a very nasty tasting and smelling drug, and that was just the quickest way to get it into my system without tasting it. Now, this is where things started to go wrong on this day. Base amphetamine is usually 5 to 6 times the strength of normal powder-based amphetamine. So, when I took what I thought was a gram, I was taking the equivalent of around 6 grams of amphetamine. Being a regular drug user, things become about habits, about routines, and about rituals. I sat back and I waited for some of the routine things to happen, for my thinking to become more clear, for me to start having positive feelings, butterflies in my stomach, start feeling lighter, stronger, more confident, and all of these things started to come. I remember looking out of the window as the car sped along, looking at the trees, and looking at the sunlight going down, and thinking, wow, I truly am alive. The tingling in my fingers started to become a thumping. My heartbeat was going faster than the music in the car, and it seemed to be trying to escape my body. I looked in the mirror several times, and I was starting to feel scared. It seemed like my eyes were trying to bulge out of their eye sockets. I was trying to play it cool, but I couldn't keep my breath. I more or less fell out of the car and just lay on my back. I started to vomit uncontrollably. I started to cry. The last sort of things that I can remember Bill and Ben saying to me were, "Dude, you're gonna be okay. Dude, we'll come back and check on you, man." So this is what happened. Bill and Ben drove off. Looking back, I don't blame them for that. They weren't close friends of mine. If they stayed with me, that was going to kill their buzz. I didn't want to deny anyone that. They said that they'd come back for me, but I don't know if they ever would have done. To be honest, I never spoke to them about this after this. To be honest, I've never spoken to anyone about this. It's hard to have precise details about how long I spent at the side of the road. I know that it was getting dark, but to me, I was in such agonizing pain and fear that I didn't actually have any real sense of linear time. I can remember thinking that I was going to die. I can remember feeling embarrassed. I'd lost control of my bladder and I'd lost control of my bowels. I can remember crying and kind of rolling from side to side, trying to find some place where it felt like I could be still. But there was no stillness to be found. I wake up some hours later. It's now completely dark, but I'm not on the floor anymore. I'm being held by somebody. I'm being carried by somebody. And I don't know who it is. I'm trying to look around, but all I can see is faint street lamps, wooden fences. We really are in the middle of nowhere. I keep turning my head to see if I can make out a face, but my body's still absolutely broken. The last thing I remember is a snapshot of being placed into the car Put down on the back seat like a baby, I look up and I see a man. All I can make out is that he's got grey hair and that he's tall. He doesn't say anything to me. He just closes the door, gets in the car, starts the ignition, and we drive away. Looking up into the blackness of the sky and seeing the amber light from the street lamps. The light from the street lamps was so overwhelmingly crazy, it was like a blur. If I focused on one light, it became the whole sky, and then it came down upon me. And I would start pulsing with the orange light. And again, I passed out. I wake up again, but I don't know where I am. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. It's like panic. First came the panic, then came the thought, then came the thought, then came the panic. Fuck, where am I? What's gone wrong with me? Shit, what's happened to me? Why do I feel so bad? Stand up and then fall over straight away immediately. I'm not strong. I'm really weak. My head's still pounding. There's a side light that just gives enough light on the reflection of the mirror so I can see myself. My hands have got mud and vomit all over them. My eyes are bright white but with big circular black pupils. I make the decision that I want to get out of there. I make the decision that I normally do. Go to the bedroom window, open the curtains and see that I'm on the first floor of the house. There's no way I'm jumping out of there in this state. So I face up to myself and I think, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to open that door, and whoever's on the other side of that door, I'm going to tell them to get the fuck away from me. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I get ready to fight. Just like when I walked into Grunts for the first time, I get myself ready to deal with whatever's on the other side of that door. I open the door as quietly as I can. I get out, but just as it's closing behind me, it makes a slight noise. I'm in somebody's front room. There's a television on, and there's two people. They both stand up together. The guy with grey hair, he's tall. You can see that he's well built. He was muscular in his prime. He still looks buff. He steps forward and he says, "Hi, I'm Carl. This is my wife, Rosemary." I say, "Nice to meet you. I'm leaving." And with that, I turn to leave. I start walking out. I don't actually know where the front door is, so I'm walking in the wrong direction. "We didn't get your name." "Aidan," I say. Carl says, "Would you like a cup of tea? By the way, the front door's that way." I say, "No, thank you. I need to get home now." Rosemary smiles and nods, and Carl very kindly comes towards me and says, "I'll give you a lift home." They've done something kind for me. Fuck, they've done something kind for me. I hate it when people are kind to me. get changed back into my clothes and feel really embarrassed. I don't know how I'm going to get in the car. It's about a 20-30 minute drive back to my house. I tell him that I don't live at the house that I do. I tell him that I live a few streets away. He doesn't talk much. He just sort of hums and smiles the last 5 minutes before he drops me off. He says a few things to me. He says, "Does your mum know where you are?" "No," I say. "Does your dad know where you are?" "No," I say. "Are you going to be okay?" "Sure," I say. "You know, if you ever need someone to talk to, or if you want to come and visit and have a cup of tea, I know where you live now. Thanks." Cole drops me off, and he drives off. It's coming up to midnight. I check my watch. It is midnight. It's now August the 31st, 1997. And the first act that I'm going to do is to sneak around the back of my mother's house, climb over fences, and sneak into the house as quietly as I possibly can. I get washed up. I put all of the clothes that I'm wearing in a bin bag, and I throw them in the bin. I take the other bin bags out and put my clothes at the bottom so no one will ever find them. I look at myself in the mirror, and even though the vomit and the shit and the mud is gone, I feel like it's still there on my face. I decide, as I've managed to get back into the house quietly with nobody noticing, that I'll do what I would normally do on a Saturday at this time. I'm going to smoke a lot of weed. I'm going to smoke a lot of weed, and I'm going to try and ease myself down. I turn on the television. Back in those days, there was 4 channels to choose from. So I can't even remember which channel I put it on. I just put it on because it makes me feel like there was someone in the room, and like I wasn't alone. I put it on with the sound down, and then I put some very quiet music on. And then I go about my business, stacking, loading bongs, start to feel better, start to feel calmer, start to reflect on the night that I've had. I smoke more and more and more, until eventually I pass out. My body can't take it anymore, after all the trauma it's been through today. My mind's saying, smoke more bongs, smoke more weed. So I obey. I notice on the TV screen there's a flickering. I was kind of wiping my eyes, and I'm pretty sure that I smoked the bong first. And then I looked. The headline on the TV said, "Princess Diana injured in car crash in Paris." I didn't give 2 moments to think about whether she was really hurt or not. I assumed it was just because it was Princess Diana. Wake up, smoke a bong, pass out, repeat. Wake up, smoke a bong, pass out, repeat. I think it may be in 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I checked the TV screen again, and the little banner that said Princess Diana hurt in car crash now said Princess Diana dead in car crash. I didn't know Princess Diana personally. Of course I didn't. I was just some shit-kicking teenager with a drug habit. Here's this beautiful, beautiful woman, a princess, and she's died. She's died violently. She's died running away from people that are chasing her. And she's gone. And I'm here. I'm fucked. This needs to stop. I need to stop doing this. I pass out again. Princess Diana kind of broke the mould in lots of ways. For one thing, she was stunningly beautiful. She looked like a fairy tale princess. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and she's got that famous sort of shy, reclining look that just endeared people to her. But she was better than just her looks. She said that it's okay to have emotions and feelings about things. And that's something that the British people don't do. We don't talk about our feelings. It's called British stiff upper lip. And that was what I was like. And she was kind of saying, maybe we should. But she was a rebel. I kind of related to her in that way. I know there was millions and millions and millions of us that were upset when she died. But for me, it was a life-changing moment. Her life changed in the way that it ended right there in that tunnel in Paris. But my life started. I was never going to end up by the side of the road, needing strangers to help me. I wasn't going to talk shit to people just to get them drugs. I wasn't going to talk to somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody anymore. In the days and weeks after Princess Diana's death, I started to put those things that I promised myself into practice. I stopped talking shit to people that I didn't like. And instead, I started to listen to people that I did like. I spoke to my mum. I told her how worried I was about her. And I promised that I'd look after her. I promised her I'd be there for her. Princess Diana's brother gave her most powerful and passionate speech on the day of her funeral. If you listen to it, I think it's impossible not to relate to it.
I stand before you today, the representative of a family in grief, in a country in mourning, before a world in shock. For such was her extraordinary appeal, that the tens of millions of people taking part in this service all over the world, via television and radio, who never actually met her, feel that they too lost someone close to them in the early hours of Sunday morning. Diana explained to me once that it was her innermost feelings of suffering that made it possible for her to connect with her constituency of the rejected. And here we come to another truth about her. For all the status, the glamour, the applause, Diana remained throughout a very insecure person at heart, almost childlike in her desire to do good for others. It is a point to remember that of all the ironies about Diana, perhaps the greatest was this. A girl given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting was, in the end, the most hunted person of the modern age. The unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
Tony Blair gave what looked like a very off-the-cuff speech in which he referred to Diana as the People's Princess. I later found out that he'd spent most of the night talking to his chief advisor and spin doctor, Alistair Campbell. They'd had long discussions about whether or not to call her the People's Princess. It was a political move. It ingratiated him with the nation in mourning.
Today, a nation in Britain in a state of shock, in mourning, in grief that is so deeply painful for us. She touched the lives of so many others in Britain, throughout the world. She was the People's Princess.
We were coming to the end of the 90s. New Labour became same old Labour. Britpop became something else. I became someone else.